everyone, and welcome to the Houston Element Podcast. My name is Missy, and I'm your host. And today, I have the lovely pleasure to introduce a new uprising artist here in the music scene, and also has a background as producer, record label owner, and media expert. We have Mercii.
Mercii, how you doing? Nice to meet you.
My apologies. I keep trying to add the French thing to it, and I don't ever know when to add the French thing or not to do the first thing.
It's cool. I'm quite sure we'll get into it in a second, but it does have the French meaning. You know, mercy means, thank you in French or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that's part of the reason I picked it. I'm thankful to be here and be able to, have the opportunity to do what I do. So that's part of it. You weren't far off.
Okay, awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I am Houston born and raised. I guess not too many people throw their age out there, but I am 35. I'm from Houston. I just, as we just got through talking about, I just put out my first actual full song back in January of 2022. I got started in 2021 releasing instrumentals via SoundCloud and Instagram. And, I've practiced, working with those instrumentals, mixing those instrumentals, etc. Doing those little small minor releases, and finally worked my way up to, I guess, getting the mindset to actually record some music and put it out professionally, and, trying to start making money off of it, and, just work my way from there.
Excellent. So can you tell us what is the inspiration behind your artist name, your lyrics, and your music style?
So the inspiration behind my artist name, obviously I named myself Mercii. That's how it's pronounced, Mercii. It is taken from, derived from the French meaning of mercy, meaning thank you. I am thankful for the opportunity to be able to make music, period. Not everybody can make music. Everybody kind of sees, I think from the public's perspective, they hear the music, but they don't see what all goes into it. There's a lot that goes into, making, whether you're talking about instrumental, whether you're talking about actual song with lyrics, etc. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. So I'm just thankful to be here and able to actually speak my voice and speak on, things that are near and dear to me. And hopefully everybody can relate to them, As far as lyrics, kind of in the same wheelhouse. Most of my lyrics up to date have all focused on my daily experience. I am a father of two. I am, we live in some very interesting times. I'll just put it like that. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna, go into the specifics of Corona and monkeypox and all that stuff. But it's just we live in a very interesting day and age. I kind of speak to the everyday individual who's out there just trying to make it. Whether you're making music, whether you're working a 9-to-5, trying to put food on the table, whether you are, just your average Joe. That's really who my lyrics speak to. I'm gonna be honest. Probably just fathers trying to make it right now. And most of it has like that little inspirational. I don't know if you really dive into the lyrics and the words that I'm saying. Most of it is all about, being around your family, doing what you need to do, for your kids to make sure you're setting up a future for them. Doing what you need to do to, get things done just to take care of business on a daily. That's essentially, what my motto is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. And I was checking out your stuff on Spotify and things. And I really appreciate it when, those kind of subjects that you think may be kind of common, but it really takes a talented artist to articulate that in new and fresh perspective ways.
Exactly. And I'm not going to say I wouldn't dare say that no one else is doing that. There are plenty of people, talented people out there. The music industry is saturated right now.
Mm-hmm.
With excellent artists. I think a lot of them probably do touch on what I touch on, but from my perspective, obviously, when it comes from you, you like, I'm the only person doing this. That's not the case. But I have my own interesting voice. I have my own interesting sound. I have my own production that's going into it. I don't rely on, instrumentals or anything from any other producers. I write my own music, so it's all coming from me.
Yes, yes. And just like it's like you can go to someone's house and eat turkey, but if you go to your grandma's house and you eat turkey, you're just like, this turkey came from the heavens. Like there's no way a human could make this because it's that impeccable.
Yeah. I completely agree. It's one of those things. When I'm gonna be honest, I know, like I said, I'm giving credit and dues to everybody that's been in this game for a long period of time. But right now, I just feel like the industry is at that flux point. It's been in this flux point where we're getting away from all of the actual hard copies and stuff in stores. It's much easier to get your music out there now. And I mean, if you really want to do everything on your own, you can. You don't have to rely on another entity to get what you want to say out there.
It's really true.
Yeah.
It's really true. And so why did you decide, excuse me. Let me get this question first. So you're not only a musician, but you're also an owner of your own independent record label, Mercii Media Group, a producer, a mixing engineer. And so why did you first chose to open your open your label?
So right now the label is just me. I am the only artist under the label, which I think is a great starting point. You should show others that you can, do it on your own first before you decide to bring anybody else in the house.
Absolutely.
But that's part of the reason I chose to take on all of those roles. I felt like if I'm going to start something that I want to have longevity and to be around for a while, I need to be able to fill all of those different shoes that I would eventually be trying to bring people into, to work, to work as. If I'm going to work with engineers, I need to be an engineer myself. If I'm going to work with artists, I need to be an artist myself. If I'm going to work with, producers, I left them out. Need to be a producer myself. I need to be in their shoes so I can help them where I know they would need help. I feel like nowadays, especially with a lot of the major labels, I think that's the major disconnect. They just want that percentage. And usually, I know I'm just speaking on artists here. I don't even know about producers and engineers and etc. Usually that's why you see all those extra names, written under who wrote the song, because this artist trying to get their royalties to their producers and their engineers and etc. But artists usually only get like 12%, that's average. That's not a lot considering they're putting in all that work. And I get it, the major labels, they're covering, expenses like, housing, whatever that person may decide to get into while they're recording the album, taking care of touring, they're taking care of, all these various things. But to me, every artist doesn't need all of that. You can set an artist up nicely and just offer, I guess like on an a la carte like type basis. Like, say this particular artist just might need help with marketing, or this artist over here just might need help with, being in touch with more producers, or this artist over here just may need a little bit of help with their image. It shouldn't be just a base, a base take for every artist that comes on board. It should be catered to that artist. So that's how I kind of feel about it. I feel like that's how eventually I will grow to, give back to my artist and whoever I decide to sign in the future. I would be more so focused on that particular individual's needs as opposed to worrying about a bottom line.
And I've noticed that about being in different studios, and in particular, I'm most familiar with, visiting Audible Studios and Lab 45 Studios, but I noticed the repeat business and the new business that comes through there And most of the time, the clients and the artist feedback is, I like the environment. I like the staff. It makes me feel comfortable, a place to create. That's why I want to keep coming back. It's almost like a second home. And, when they leave their session, their music belongs to them still.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing is like, this impeccable relationship, these great resources, but the music still belongs to you.
Yeah.
So is that what you feel is most important to you, is to try to let your artist know, hey, you still got your rights, man.
Exactly.
I'm just trying to develop a place.
Exactly. I feel like the artists should still have their rights. I feel like they should own their masters. I feel like, I think I visited a few studios around the Houston area, 713 and Barron in particular. And I see the new model that they're kind of ushering in that you just spoke on, where they have like the creative space where artists can come in, bring their own material, work with, engineers there, work with producers there, and just kind of just work on their stuff there. And like you said, it is a creative environment. And then they can go home and it's still their music. And they just pay for the time in the studio. But that's exactly what it is, a creative space. If you want to go in the studio and actually record, let's say you want to record an orchestra behind what you're doing, then you're looking at a substantial. It's not the same. Most of the stuff that they have like available for the creative areas of the studios are like in the box mixing. It's all like in the box instruments, etc. VSTs, you name it. The physical instruments though aren't present.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one big difference you see.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the analog gear is not present. That's another big difference you see. And I'm not saying I'm not going to give away my future on exactly how I plan on rolling all that stuff out, but I will say I feel like if those creative spaces gave access to actual instruments and to actual musicians and to analog gear, so that artist had a chance of making their best possible music, just like, any other artist who was signed to a label would, I think that definitely would be a winning business model.
Oh, yeah. I can definitely see people getting excited about that,
Yeah.
Because I can understand, session musicians don't run cheap. Advertisement doesn't run cheap.
Exactly.
But, there could be a time limit or something like that, or as necessity by event sort of thing.
Yeah. And I think most studios right now charge like about an hour or whatever. And prices are pretty low. But here I go again. You just get access to a computer with, plugins on it essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So you still have to have some type of know-how. And that's why I said I don't want to step on anybody's toes by what I say. There's a lot of artists out there that are doing their own stuff right now. There's a lot of artists who have to mix their own music. And there are a lot of artists who have to master their own music. I'm on a lot of Discord groups. I see, I look around on Reddit a lot. I look around on Twitter a lot. And I do know people do still send their songs off to mix engineers and still send their songs off to, guys who actually have the analog mastering equipment and all that, which is cool. That's your money. But me personally, I'd rather just, as far as where I am on my journey, I'd just rather just learn how to do it myself and just do it. It's not, to me, the more tools you have in your shed, the better you are for it in the long run. And not only that, the more, how can I put it, the more value you are to, other people. Because, you can do it all. I don't have to worry about, you can come to me, for example, down the road and you don't have to worry about, okay, well, we got the song down, now I got to go find somebody to mix it. Or we got the song down, now I got to go find somebody to master it.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get all that done in one spot, then that's,
Yeah. So what would you say out of your many different roles as record label owner, producer, mixing engineer, mastering engineer, and artist, what would you say takes the most energy or the most responsibility? Or is it kind of a matter of sharing the energy?
I think from my experience thus far, it's you try and share the energy equally, but it's kind of impossible. And I say that because from the artist perspective, you always kind of want to be in that creative mindset. And it's hard to be in a constant creative mindset as an artist when you got to focus on business stuff. People really don't realize to constantly write. And I do everything by schedule. I try and set up, days where I just write, days where I just focus on, mixing or making a couple of beats, days where I'm, networking on social media and stuff like that. Days where I'm learning, because, you have to constantly learn in this business period. You never stop learning. There's always something new that you got to figure out, whether it's a plugin, whether it's how to record a particular instrument, whether it's how to, you know, just do something you've never done before, cleaning up some audio. It's always something new you can learn. But the lion's share of my energy goes towards just being an artist first. To me, the music is the most important thing. I can do everything else that all of the roles that you just spoke on. And if I'm not focused on being an artist, it doesn't matter. It's not going to reach the audience it needs to reach. They're not going to get what I'm talking about. It's not going to come out the way I want it to. And it's not going to be, my heart wouldn't be fully in it. So I would definitely say artist takes the lion's share. Now, being the owner definitely comes in a very close second place. Because here I go again. If you're in this as a business and you're trying to find different ways or different avenues to create, revenue so you can keep things going for yourself as an artist, you gotta constantly be thinking on your toes about, am I going to bring merch and start selling merch? Or from the producer side of me is thinking, okay, well, am I going to put some beats on any beat stores or whatever and start selling beats like that? Or am I just going to start selling the songs directly from my website? You got to constantly be thinking about all this different stuff. And that's why I said it's kind of, I'm not going to say it's hard to stay in a creative mindset, but at the same time, it is, because you're constantly thinking about so much. And that kind of goes into why it's appealing to have a label over your head. You don't have to worry about all that. Yeah, they take a huge chunk out of what you get paid, off of your work. But at the end of the day, you're just sitting back and, you're in your creative state. You're just being creative and doing what you need to do. So yeah, I mean, it's yeah.
You got one aspect on the side, the label and the producer dealing with, bureaucratic stuff and paperwork and legalities. But you got the artist that's focusing on not just being creative, but being in the limelight, getting their performances, staying healthy to deliver their performances and recording. So it's like y'all need each other kind of thing.
Yeah. I haven't gotten to the point where I've worked with too many other artists yet. I do constantly communicate with other artists and other producers and other engineers on Discord and Twitter and etc. So I am privy to a lot of those different conversations that you just spoke on. I guess I'm blessed in the fact that I can do everything myself and I don't really have to reach outside of myself to get done what I need done. But at the same time, it is a constant headache to worry about, like if you're an artist, you think of a song, you may write the song or whatever, you may go record the song and then you're done. But from from my perspective, I have to worry about writing a song, producing a beat for the song, recording the song. Obviously, after everything is recorded and taken care of, mixing the song, mastering the song. Then after all of that is done, then I have to worry about song rollout. I got to worry about how am I going to present it to the public? What's the album cover going to look like? When am I going to drop it? Am I going to do a lyric video for it? Am I going to go and do a music video for it? What is all this different stuff going to look like? It's a lot. It's a lot. A lot of people don't think about all that as far as, when they look at an individual artist or a label, they don't know what all goes on, behind the scenes. And that's essentially what goes on behind the scenes. It's a lot of scheduling, a lot of juggling of different things that have to come together congruently to work properly. It has to be a well-oiled machine for it to to reach the public's ears in a polished form,
Well, you are a one-man army, though, sir. Goodness.
Yeah, I do my own album artwork. I literally do everything. I do my own lyric videos. I just got to recording my first video for my last single special that should be dropping sometime next week. I even do my own video editing. So I mean, yeah, I don't back down from challenges. I love challenges. At some point, I might get tired of doing everything, on my own. But for right now, I'm soaking it all up and just learning as much as I can from every different angle.
Isn't it nice to not worry about having to do this, where somebody's going to be over your shoulder, like trying to whisper in your ear? Because the problem is, I mean, and you can tell you're a very capable young man. You're very talented at what you do. I see the passion that you put in your do. What worries me and keeps me up at night is these incredible artists, professionals, and somebody whispering in their ear trying to get them to do their thing. So
yeah, and that's one of my main things. I wouldn't want anyone in my ear or telling me, I don't know if that sounds right, or I don't know if you should say that, or I don't know. That to me that takes away from. I get it. A lot of the labels want their artists to stay on brand, or they want their artists to stick to what sells, and that's not what I'm about. I'm just about just being a pure artist. I just want whatever's on that artist's mind. If it's if there's an audience out there that they can relate to or reach, or I don't want to curse, but there's someone out there that is going to listen to your music regardless.
Yeah.
For every thought that you have, I can guarantee you there's someone out there that thinks just like you do. It's just a matter of getting your music to that audience that thinks like you and moves like you.
Yes. And when you're being yourself, when you're being real, it's a lot easier to find those people than you would think. Exactly.
Yeah, that's why you don't see me following like I guess the popular thing right now is trap, like, period, because like so many other genres of music are taking, like, your 808s that you hear in trap, or your hi-hats that you hear in trap, and just adding them to their genres. But I think that's, I guess, the rocket ship right now of the music industry. You don't really hear me like conforming to trap in particular. I'm kind of a mixture of things. I'm kind of, I always think outside of the box when I'm working on my productions. So that's why you see so many different artists listed under where I get my inspiration from. And just because they're in my inspiration section doesn't mean that I'm going to sound like them. It just may be that I like the way that they model some, or I like the way that they went about doing something, or the fact that they were different, and the fact that they and how they chased what they were going for. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And so, speaking of that, so what did you say is a special skill each of your roles require that most people overlook?
From the ownership perspective, I'm gonna just say I think it's just being adaptable. It's you have to have a passion for the company, just as you have a passion for the music. So you have to be conscious of what moves you make. You have to be conscious of your company's image, even though regardless of how small you are, there's always somebody paying attention. I think you just, and people maybe they are conscious of it, but for me, that's something I think everybody doesn't necessarily think of or pay attention to when they start up a small business. You really have to be adaptable to what you're stepping into, because regardless of how much research you do, you never really know what you're going to see on a daily basis. As far as from the producer side of things, I think I can kind of roll producer, engineer, and artist all up into one. All of that requires constant learning and networking. You can do everything by yourself. You don't necessarily need to speak to others to figure out how to do the things themselves, but it makes it a lot easier. Especially, I'm gonna be honest, the main reason I go on Discord, or the main reason I go and search around on Reddit, is not because I don't know how to do something. It's more so just to see that everybody else is struggling with the same stuff I'm struggling with. It's more so, like it feels like you have support. It feels like you're in. How can I put it? It feels like you're at home because you're around a bunch of people, a bunch of creative people who are doing the same stuff that you're doing, and they're having the same issues you're having, or they've had the same issue you're having, and it just kind of I guess aligns you and lets you know you're on the right track in a way.
Mm-hmm.
If you can kind of understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
It makes you not feel alone, even though you are kind of doing it, solo.
But as artists, it's good to get that validation because you can second guess yourself. You're your toughest critic. So it's good to get that validation online. You're like, why is this not working? Everybody's having the same update problem. Okay.
For
it's
sure.
Not just me.
That's one of the biggest things. Plugins, keeping everything updated on your laptops or desktop or whatever you use to use your DAW on. You kind of have to be your own IT specialist. Especially for me, I'm one of those people. I always update early with the Apple Beta program, for example. So I'm always troubleshooting, some plugin not working or something like that, and I don't have to upgrade, all of my computers and whatnot. Usually I'll leave one that's like, on a regular update cycle. But the others, I'll always update to, just the betas just to see if everything's working right. And sometimes I use a laptop that I keep in my bag. Other times I'm using, the desktop that I have at the house. It just depends. But you kind of have to be your own IT specialist sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Because if it's not working and you need it, you better find out how to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you mentioned on your website how you made your return to music by doing practice mixes with material from Instagram and SoundCloud. So how would you attribute your practice time to your current skill set?
So it wasn't so much that I practiced with music from Instagram or music from SoundCloud. It's just that's the first place I posted my first instrumentals and stuff that I did work on. That was the first and only time in my career that I used like samples and loops and stuff from Splice. I don't know if you know about Splice.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So that at that point in time, I was big on leaning on Splice for loops and samples and etc. to piece together songs and playing with samples a lot. I'm gonna be honest. I did use Splice a lot when I first started. There are a lot of Splice samples that are blended into Stargazer. There are a lot of Splice samples that are blended into Drippy's Nebula. But post that, everything has just been made from scratch. I literally use the Stock Logic library for all of my sounds. For Opinions, my first track, and Hell of a Life, the track that came out after that. After Hell of a Life, I invested in my Arturia Keylab 61, and along with that came Analog Lab 5.
Oh, nice.
Which gave me a big boost, obviously, in my sound library. For anybody out there starting producer-wise, I'm gonna put this key in real quick. Your sound library is the biggest investment you can make as far as being a producer. If you have an extensive sound library to pull from and you're organized with it, that's the key.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. And I didn't find it out until I got my Arturia and started, messing around with just, putting in keys, and creating songs via the actual, MIDI keyboard versus, me, moving MIDI notes around with the
God, that chicken peck nonsense.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I dig it. I can understand it because a lot of guys who use FL Studio, that's their go-to. If you ain't got a keyboard, you gotta do what you gotta do and understand it. But that's another blessing of being your own producer. As an artist, you can do what you want to, spend as much time on a beat or arrangement as you want to. You don't have to worry about the pressure of coming up with something off bat for another artist. So I'm taking my time to actually learn the keyboard, how to play it properly, and yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So everything you've heard since Hell of a Life has literally been played on a keyboard. I don't mess with any notes in a DAW outside of possibly quantizing something. If something is just completely out of time or something like that, But yeah, I'm not shifting notes around inside the DAW anymore.
I don't blame you. I do not blame you, man. Oh my God. I had to chicken peck but by ear, chicken peck music into Pro Tools. And that was so nerve wracking. And I was like, this is probably not even on the right key. But here we go.
See, Pro Tools, I've had the smallest amount of time with. No, I can't say that. Actually, Ableton Live, I've had the smallest amount of time with. I've played around with Pro Tools. Pro Tools, to me, is more so something I'd rather pull some stems into and then have to mix a track on. I would hate to actually produce a beat on Pro Tools.
Oh God, no.
Yeah.
No.
So Logic has always been my baby.
Okay.
Has always been my go-to. I see a lot of people using Ableton. I see a lot of people obviously using FL Studio. FL Studio, I'm gonna be honest, looks very dope and very simple. It's just you like what you like. You love what you love. I probably, if I spent enough time with it, I probably could get pulled away from Logic, but I just don't see it happening. I'm used to Logic's workflow. I'm used to being able to do everything in Logic. And I know there's a way to do everything that you can do in Logic in FL Studio, but I'm just a Logic baby.
So do you like Logic because you feel that it's both friendly to producer aspect and recording engineer aspects?
Exactly. Now, I know with the new FL, I think they're on 21 right now or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. And see, if someone listens to FL, they'll probably, get on me for saying this. But I just know it's a lot easier to record. It's a lot easier to compose. It's a lot easier to arrange, etc. in Logic. Now, I don't know what the new updates have brought to FL. I do see a lot of producers who use only FL on Instagram all the time. And I know it's a mainstay for a lot of people because, everybody doesn't own Apple computers. So, it used to be everybody that had FL were people who were on Windows and they didn't have access to Logic, But FL has become like that bridge to now where people who own Macs, they still don't bother with Logic. They still go to FL. I find it dope to create a beat like real quick. Like if you're in a studio environment, you need to hurry up and whip something up. But when it comes to recording, when it comes to mixing, when it comes to mastering and all that stuff, I think Logic is better.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, and I mean, Pro Tools for me, that's the one I have the most experience with. So it's not to say that it's my favorite, but it's just the one that I use to know the most. But I also am more recording, mixing. I don't produce beats just yet. Yeah. But I know enough to know I would not spend 5 minutes trying to produce something in Pro Tools because it is... it's not that it can't be done. It's just it takes a lot longer than the other programs.
And I think that's the thing about Pro Tools. Pro Tools is more so of, it's always been a professional grade industry standard, and my only bit of shade I throw on Pro Tools is the fact that I think as of late, I think that happened this year or last year when they went to the subscription thing, only thing, instead of you being able to actually own it. I could be incorrect there. There may still be a way to pay for it outright. I'm not certain. And of course, obviously, those people who bought it prior to then, they have it outright. But I think the only way you can get it right now is like via subscription or something like that.
Oh, no.
But yeah, so I'm not digging that.
Yeah, no, I got a perpetual license a couple years ago. And, occasionally every year I'll get a call from Sweetwater saying, hey, do you want to get a pay for an upgrade? Meaning you get these new plugins that are now with the Pro Tools, this and that and the other. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I like to pick and choose my plugins. Thank you. Exactly. And I'm going to be honest. So the way I learned Logic, I'm gonna be honest. So I did watch a lot of YouTube. I did do a lot of Googling. I did see a lot of chat groups inside of Reddit, etc.
And the way I learned to use Logic, I stuck with all the stock plugins first before I went and bought like any third party plugins, because my thing is all the plugins that you see in Logic or all the plugins that you see inside of your DAW, everything that's third party is kind of iterations on those things. So if you get a base understanding for, the base plugins that you already have, then it makes it, 10 times easier when you do go and acquire a third party plugin or, whatever. Another good reason to have third party plugins, obviously, is if you are working with a lot of other producers or engineers or etc. You never know what someone else is going to have on that track as far as how they mixed it, what plugin they used. This person may have used something from Sound Toys, or this person may have used something from Waves or etc. And you do need to have access to all that when you start mixing for other people, because you never know again what they have on the track to get that particular sound that they're seeking. So.
Oh yeah, and transferring the files. Oh man, the more processing you got on that baby, the longer it's going to take to transfer over.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends how you bounce your stuff. If you're just bouncing the stems or whatever, it's from the Logic side of things. I can only speak from Logic. It's not too bad. Okay. But I mean, Logic was built to work on Apple's stuff. I think that's another reason I stick with it. It was made to run on Apple's computers, and especially since they made their migration to the M1 chipset, everything is kind of centered around the M1 chipsets that they now currently run all their products on. So if I owned a Mac or any Apple product, I really don't see a reason to get outside of Logic. I'm gonna be honest. It's just it's built for that. Like why would I go and use something else?
Yeah. Understandable.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned earlier, and also you mentioned in your website, that you take inspiration from various music groups, including, but not limited to, Daft Punk, Nirvana, DJ Screw, and Zero. What kind of techniques about their styles have you used to create your own unique sound?
Okay, so Daft Punk, off top, Daft Punk, I can't tell you exactly what first year I heard their music, but I can tell you off top that I just like Daft Punk style. The fact that they tried to remain anonymous for as long as possible, as long as they did, and B, the fact that they were the type of people that read the manual on a piece of equipment. It could be like this Yamaha that you have sitting right here, or this control board that you have sitting right here, or the synths that they were working with. They would read the whole instruction manuals and then find ways to like break something and make it work outside of the way it was supposed to work to get the sound that they wanted. That's just the type of people they were. That's what I loved about them. As far as Nirvana goes, I just love their sound. They were, I could be quoting this incorrectly, but I think they came up with like the grunge. They didn't come up with the grunge rock sound or whatever, but they were obviously one of the first big, grunge rock groups that I think they came out of somewhere near Seattle or in Seattle, if I'm not mistaken. And so them and Kurt Cobain kind of had their own sound, and which was awesome to me. And here I go again. It was something that just kind of at that point in time, I just had to listen to it. It was just they did their own thing, and it stuck. And not too many artists can really say that, at the end of the day. As far as DJ Screw, I'm a Houstonian. And that doesn't mean you have to love DJ Screw, but how can you not love DJ Screw? DJ Screw stood for more than just music. He was kind of like, if you're young and you weren't around for the DJ Screw age, or you haven't heard any DJ Screw music, he was essentially what DJ Khaled is to the music industry right now. He brought together artists that you wouldn't usually hear together, under one roof. He was, a friend to a lot of the OGs you hear in, from the Houston area right now. And obviously I never met him. I was too young at that point in time, and he passed, before I was even out middle school, but just the way he brought people together around music itself is enough to, somewhat idolize him musically. And I think that should be every, I can't speak for other cities, but if you're from Houston and you're a producer, obviously you want to kind of be in that DJ Screw category. You want to be, you want to have the ability to bring artists together. You want to have the ability to reach out to anybody and just kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just make the best music possible. And of course, obviously he had his own, he had his own style, screwed and chopped. I did get to hear a lot of that post, him being alive. He's just someone I just idolize. I mean, here I go again. He was a game changer. He was someone who, created his own lane, brought a lot of artists under one roof and made it work. That's the other key. It's one thing to bring a lot of artists under one roof and have them working together from all different sides of Houston. It's a whole nother thing for it to actually sound good.
Yes.
And then who's the fourth?
Zero.
And Zero. Zero is another one. Obviously, he represents small Missouri City for those who aren't here in the Houston area. But Zero is a big. I'm a big Zero fan. Period. He's one of the first artists I listened to that that I was able to get my hands on that actually had a parental advisory label on them. Yeah, my mom didn't really let me listen to too much parental advisory labeled music when I was coming up. So when I got to high school, like around 2001, I was Zero's biggest fan, and still to this day. He's always stayed true to himself. He's always represented, Missouri City and the Houston area and H-Town, period. He's always been himself. And I respect him for that. I feel like that's something that's very hard to do in the music industry. Being yourself, speaking true to who you are, and staying consistent, for this long. That's the recipe for a legend. Him, Kiki, Slim Thug, a lot of those guys that have been around a long time. I have a lot of respect for all of them, but Zero is the one that I listen to the most.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah. Heck yeah, man. And I can get your kind of inspiration from him in your music, because some of your lyrics are kind of in your own form of expression, talking about how, no matter what, you're going to do what you need to do. You're going to handle your business.
Exactly.
Forget the haters. Who needs them?
Exactly.
All right. Leave them in the dust. So that's where I get that Zero inspiration from. Yeah. I'm like, all right. I can feel it. Yeah. I can feel it.
Yeah, for sure.
So you have released 4 singles this year thus far, including Opinions, Hell of a Life, Never Fold, Cloud Vice, and your latest single, Special. Did your current singles have their own meaning, or are they going to be a part of a similar story?
That's obviously the perfect answer to that would be, yeah, they're gonna all be part of a story, and they're gonna all line up, and they're gonna, it's gonna read like a book, like a chapter of a book almost, or chapters in a book. But that's not the case. I'm gonna be honest. From a creativity perspective, I kind of just literally roll with whatever I'm feeling at the moment. Now, all of the tracks thus far have kind of lined up in a way where they are kind of focused and centered around the same kind of content. But like I said, I am. Speaking from an everyday, person's perspective, I'm not some artist or superstar who's, really known around the Houston area or who has some big name or something like that. I'm just, your regular average, everyday, black male who has 2 daughters and is trying to, get it, musically. So, I mean, they all focus around being a father. They all focus around just making it and doing what you got to do in the grind and every day, happenstance, and just one song could touch on raising your daughters right, and another song may in the future, I'll put out maybe talk about H-E-B curbside pickup. There's no telling, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to always keep it real. It's not, I'm not going in any particular direction with anything. Now, I will say, obviously, when I feel the time is right after I put out enough, as my catalog is big enough and I have put out enough singles, and I feel I've earned the right to, I will drop an album that does have a storyline to it. But right now, my main goal is to build up my catalog, put as many singles out there as possible, see what works, see what doesn't, and just kind of build from there. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say, oh well, yeah, I dropped Opinions first, and then I knew after that I had to do Hell of a Life, and I already knew Special was going to come like 3 tracks later. And nah, it wasn't anything like that. It was kind of it all depends on my creative process at the point in time. It could be that I had something already written and I came up with a beat one day that I thought would go nice with it. It could be that I'm feeling some type of way and I just so happen to make a nice beat that day and I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta write something to this. Or inspiration kind of comes from anywhere. It could be something I see on the news and I'm just like, okay, yeah, I gotta go write something to this. And I do have a lot of beats stashed away on my laptop. I do have a lot of lyrics stashed away in my notes. So I mean, it's kind of a toss up of as far as right now where a single is coming from.
And when it's art, you can put a picture of a duck next to an almond tree, and somehow, to somebody's perspective, it makes perfect sense.
Exactly.
It does not have to be a duck in a pond to make sense.
Exactly.
So I can feel it, man. I can feel it, man. And so previously in 2021, you released an instrumental EP called Stargazer, which you talked about earlier, how you used some samples from Splice and things like that when you're doing the producing. So can you tell us a little bit about what was the process of this EP? Why did you want to do an instrumental EP? What was the creative workflow like at the time?
So the want was I needed a way to start putting out music, and I didn't want to start working on full-fledged songs and I release to nobody, if you get what I'm saying. Like, if you getting ready to drop your first single, you don't want to drop your first single. Nobody knows you're making music. Nobody knows anything about music, and you just go and just create a single and you just throw it out there on all the streaming platforms or whatever. Who's going to listen to it? Because they didn't even know you were making music. So my thought process was, maybe I should approach it from the instrumental perspective first. If I come at it from being a producer first, that'll at least allow me to get into some of these communities, on Reddit or, on some of these Discord groups, and allow me to put on display, well, yeah, he does make instrumentals. So, it kind of gives you an audience to, put some out there. Not a big audience, because they weren't, I don't think instrumentals can really be that big unless you are somebody that's really just known like that. It's kind of hard to market an instrumental. But I knew, again, it would. I knew it would be something out there under my name. I knew that it would just be. It was kind of like testing the waters. It was testing the distribution process to make sure everything was going to land properly. Under my artist name in different stores, which it didn't. Some it did, some it didn't. Like Apple Music and Spotify went smoothly, but like, for example, Amazon and Tidal, they're kind of really bad about putting new artists under the right profile, especially if someone else has a similar name as you. But it was just like, it was like a test. It was really a testing phase just to see how everything was going to work. And like I said, plus it gave me the advantage of putting my name out there ahead of actually dropping some music.
Excellent. Yeah, man. And I was really digging it, man. I don't know, now that I'm older, I really appreciate instrumentals more.
Yeah.
Because it's like, as much as I love lyrical music, traditional music, sometimes I just need to chill the out.
Exactly.
And center myself.
And instrumentals, I will say this, instrumentals, I know lo-fi is big right now. Instrumentals kind of it's kind of like classical music to me. It allows you to kind of find something that's your own pace, and you can meditate to it. You can work out to it. You can put your own words to it. You can, it's so many different things you can do with the instrumental that you can't with the regular track. Because like you said, when you listen to a regular track, you are listening to, an artist's idea and their words, behind it. But with the instrumental, it just kind of gives you the freedom to just listen to something that may soothe you. It may energize you. It just depends on the instrumental, obviously. But yeah.
Yeah, like it's very, very liberating because you can, like you said, you can go to the gym and be working out to it, or you can just be sitting down and relaxing. But it's like a nice disc cleaning for your brain. It's just like, I needed that.
Yeah, definitely. And I am going to do a lot of instrumentals moving forward. I do want to get in the lo-fi. I definitely want to return it and do a full-fledged album size instrumental at some point. Or a couple. It's just like I said right now, as I spoke on earlier, it's so much different stuff to focus on. It's it's kind of hard to stay in a creative, that creative space. And mind you, I do have, like I said, I have a bunch of beats and instrumentals, like stored away on the laptop right now. But if I'm gonna put it out, I want it to be something that's cohesive and something that's gonna, be awe-inspiring and something that people can actually vibe to. Mm-hmm. So I would actually take the time and make sure that it's something that's, I guess set up properly and arranged out properly on an album.
Yeah.
As opposed to last time, I would say Stargazer is a dope instrumental, but if anything, I would have made it a little bit longer. I would have put more tracks on it. I would have made some of the tracks on there longer, and I think I would have expressed myself a lot more now, especially now that I have an instrument to actually play the stuff out, as opposed to, like I said, tinkering with MIDI notes.
Oh my God.
Tinkering with MIDI notes and samples. God. But now that I'm learning to actually play the keyboard and all that, yeah, it's definitely some instrumentals coming that I can, get a little bit more freedom on,
And MIDI keyboards change your life, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's like when they invented the microwave for the first time, people lost their mind. Like, I mean, I remember in my MIDI class, I was sitting there trying to make a chord and I was like, I don't know how to make a chord. Wait, it's like, hold on. I just figured out how to play a little bit of Sound of Silence. Do, 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 do. And I was like, with a 25 key keyboard. And I was like, wait, how? Is there witchcraft happening? I don't know what's going on.
And see, my first MIDI keyboard was a Akai MPC MIDI. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know how many keys it has on it. I think it might be around 25 or so. But I used that mostly just for percussion at first. I'm going to be honest, because I have huge fingers and that didn't work too well. Mm-hmm. But when I got the Ulterior Key Lab, that kind of opened up, like you said, a whole new world. It was just like, okay. It was love at first sight. Now I can really get down to what I really want to put out there sound-wise.
Oh yes. It's so good. If you don't have one, you need to get one. I need to get one. Like
Definitely. And then another way, I know we gotta move through the topics, but another way the Ulterior Key Lab, another reason I love it so much, it's not only a MIDI controller, but it's literally a controller for the DAW as well.
Oh, snap.
So I can, I literally don't even have to touch the computer. I can play, pause, stop, loop, everything right there from, the keyboard itself. It also has controllers on the right side of the keyboard up top where you can, play around with the pitch envelope. You can play around with the tack. You can play around with sustain. You can play around with the brightness. You can play around with, all of these different parameters of each sound.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, on each track that you're messing with. So a lot of people... I know a lot of people out there are always thinking to themselves, how is he getting these sounds? He's probably, pulling some samples and just, no, that's literally me messing with all these different, parameters that are there available on the controller. That's all it is.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. So it's like part keyboard, part interface.
Yep.
Oh. Yep. Oh, that changes everything.
Yep.
So now I'm like, how broke am I really? I don't know. Might have to go to Guitar Center and get in some trouble.
It's definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. And plus, I'm gonna be honest, I guess being able to play with all those different parameters, it kind of initiate you into the synth world of things too, because those are all of the parameters that you find on synths, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm big into synths and keyboards and stuff now, just because of, again, being able to play with this one particular piece of equipment.
Yeah, because I mean, even if it's a 25 or 20 key MIDI keyboard, you can play any notes,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you can do different octaves, and
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely.
So on your Instagram, you also shared some tips and updates about music production and the gear you like to use. And we're, of course, talking about your incredible MIDI keyboard.
Yeah.
So aside from the MIDI keyboard, what other things do you like to use for recording, mixing, and mastering and producing?
So for recording, the mic I currently use is the T.H.E P220. That's my main go-to mic. Before that, believe it or not, those first two songs that I recorded on a Blue Yeti USB mic.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know the Blue Yetis.
Yeah. A lot of people don't think that you can record vocals on them, but you can.
Yeah.
It's possible. But right now I'm on the AKG P220. As far as go-to, obviously my go-to DAW is Logic. My go-to MIDI is my Arturia Keylab 61. And as far as mastering goes, I don't have any analog gear, but I do use Ozone. Isotope, yeah. I do use Ozone 9. So that's what I use to master my tracks. I don't use the presets, though I did learn from the presets that were there. But I don't use the presets. I go and actually, play around with how I want things to actually, sound, etc. Same thing with, Isotope has a large range of stuff that can help you.
Yes.
From Isotope Neutron that you can use on, like, I believe it's specifically for vocals, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
To Isotope, what's the one that they have for...
they have Nectar also.
No, Nectar's the one for vocals. Neutron is the one for instruments.
Okay,
so
yes,
that's right.
yes.
That's right. But so I have that whole professional suite. I utilized them heavily when I first got them, because like I like to see the presets and play around with presets and see how they all work, and then from there just go and do my own thing from there once I figure out what everything's doing. So that's how I kind of started figuring out, improving my mix game. I learned a lot in DAW from just seeing what presets they had there in place and just working my way from there. But yeah, Ozone 9 stays on my master. Stays on the master. Faithfully. Every track.
Yes. Okay. I use Ozone 9 for my mastering for my podcast religiously.
Yeah.
And
he does an excellent job.
And like you said, I learned from the presets too, kind of things, because sometimes the preset may have some really great settings, but depending on what session you have to tweak it just a little bit for this, that, and the other kind of thing. But oh my God, I love Isotope 9.
Yeah.
I love Isotope Ozone 9. Oh my God, it's so good.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's definitely a cheat code, especially, I don't know if everybody's aware of it or not, but if you don't have access to analog gear, I think Isotope is a go-to if you really just want to mix and master your own stuff. Like I said, it gives you nice presets to work with to start out with if you don't know what you're doing. You can kind of grow your knowledge from there. Just do more research on those individual plugins, and especially like with the mastering, you can watch a couple of mastering videos and see what goes into mastering, and literally, everything you need to master a track is there in Ozone 9. It's there.
Yes. I mean, they have so many tutorials online on the Isotope website and on YouTube,
Yep.
Not gonna lie, when I first started using Isotope plugins, I was a little overwhelmed because I was really green, and I was like, oh my God, what have I signed up for, man?
Yeah.
But the more practice, I was like, okay, it's all right. It's going to be okay, because I know what I'm doing now. It's not that nerve-wracking. Here we go.
Exactly. And that's another thing. I feel like when I first got into this, I was kind of like, I don't know if you have like a parent that that you introduced to a cell phone, and they were like, well, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of like one of those situations. You can't be afraid to mess with anything.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get a setting dialed in, save it, and just play around with stuff until you break it, or until
Yeah.
you. Not that you can break anything in a digital doll, but
Yeah.
just play around with stuff. Don't be afraid to play around with stuff. That's the biggest key I could give to that. You can't mess it up, especially if you saving your stuff properly. Just play with it.
Yeah.
You figure out something that maybe you possibly couldn't learn online because they're not going to use it in the same way. But yeah, just play with every plugin you have. It's just mess with stuff, see what different things do, and you might come up with something that you weren't even thinking of. That's dope.
Exactly. And now that we're on the topic of iZotope, let's talk about my favorite subject. What is your favorite audio repair tool to use?
RX9. RX9 all day.
Mic drop. All right.
RX9. Now, mind you, I don't have much experience with actual audio repair, and I know RX9 is something that kind of seems daunting when you first mess with it because it has a bunch of different modules that you can play with and etc. But at the end of the day, if you need to remove like a click from a guitar strum, if you need to remove the pluck sound, the keyboard makes when you're playing a key, if you need to remove some background AC noise or anything of that nature, I haven't had any issues removing anything from my audio with RX9. And I'm gonna be honest, I use RX9 faithfully because I am in a non recording friendly environment at home. I have a 2 and a 6-year-old. So you can imagine that there's always some type of background noise going on, and a noise gate only does so much. So RX9 has been my faithful companion really since about song 3 that I've always used to clean up stuff, after,
Mm-hmm.
just to make stuff sound pristine and clean and make sure there's nothing else going on in the track that's unwanted.
No kidding, man. And now a lot of us can relate to the not having a perfectly soundproof environment to work and kind of thing.
Yeah.
So can you give us an example of when RX9 just saved your life and was just like the best thing since life bread?
Well, I use it all the time.
Right, me too.
I mean, because I'm gonna be honest, it's kind of daunting. If you look on YouTube and all this stuff, and you always like all of these people who you see on YouTube who are established on YouTube and who actually talk about audio, whether it's mixing or recording, etc. They have all of these wonderfully acoustically built rooms for recording and for mixing and etc. And the average person doesn't have access to that. So, I mean, we deal with, like I said, the kids' noise, etc. Specific example, my 2-year-old was in the room with me when I was recording the special. Now mind you, she wasn't supposed to be in there. She snuck in there. And there was a portion of while I was recording a take, and she actually, I forget exactly what word she said, but I was actually able to go and scrub out the word that she said, just because, baby's voice versus your voice versus my deep voice is, 2 completely different frequencies. So I was able to go and cut it out without, it even, like I said, the public even knowing that, someone else was there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a lifesaver. Now, is it that big a deal? Yeah, I could have done the take over, but I mean, the take was perfect as it was. It was exactly what I wanted it to sound like. So, it definitely was a big time saver.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because what I like about the RX9 is that, like you said, like it doesn't affect all the audio when you take something out. You can really go in there like a surgeon and just remove that little bit.
Exactly.
Whereas, with gating and EQing, you can affect the whole dialogue, unfortunately, So, yeah, shout out to RX9 for real.
Facts. I don't know what genius came up with it, but it's everything.
Man, if they're single, I'm coming for you. Like we gonna have a life together because bless you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, man.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you for the experience. And yeah, this was awesome just to sit down and talk with somebody that's familiar with, recording and mixing and et cetera. And, familiar with the industry, period. So yeah, this was definitely an excellent experience. And I hope you can have me back again sometime maybe next year.
Oh, yeah.
Talk again.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely, man. We doing a return guest kind of thing, okay? This is more like a restaurant, not just a studio, okay? We're going to have special dishes, seasonal dishes, so we're going to need to come and serve it up in the form of EPs and album reviews.
Bet. We can do that. Bet.
So do you have any last bit of advice for the listeners?
Look, I'm new to this myself, so I can't give out too much advice because I know the old heads will probably jump on me or whatever. But I will say, just go for what you know, and even if you don't know it and learn it, just go for your dreams. You're never too old. It's never something that's out of reach. If you're willing to put the time in and learn something, you can do it. That's really all I can think about top.
You heard it from the man yourself, all right? And if you didn't, for all y'all people that play in Minecraft, because I know you are, you need to get back in this episode and mine that gold. Okay? Because there's a lot of it in here. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us this week, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Peace.
Deuces.